on this computer. All right, so here's my scene. I'll hit the 6 key so you can see my characters. I might have done this already in my previous video, and if I did, I'll just delete this one, but I just want to make sure that you guys have this to know how to do this. Oops, I moved my perspective. So I need to select this for my camera view. Panel, look through selected. Okay, there's my, oh, you know what? This isn't the file I want because this doesn't have any, sorry, let me open up a different file. I'm gonna pause the video for a second because I wanted one that actually, okay, so this scene has my rig, and you're gonna need to do this with every character, every that has a rig like this. If I'm gonna split my screen for a second too. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted split screen layout side by side. Okay, I prefer it the other way. Okay. So I want you to be able to see what I've actually selected when I make a marquee around this stuff. So first I'm going to turn off my, I'm going to go to show and turn on my polygons and turn on my control handles. And you can see that I have my pawns, I have my rig on a layer called pawns con. And I need to be more specific. I need to call this guy protester or something. But here's my pawn U layer. So when I right click on pawn cons layer and I say select objects, it looks like I have everything selected. So I can hit the move tool and move this guy forward. But you can see it only has a couple of things selected. And what it has selected is a joint. I never want to select joints. And it has a base con null selected, which is not what I want to select either. I want to select the cons and the cons only. So first of all, I need to restrict my mesh so I don't accidentally move that or animate that. But also I want to have this stuff, all these little control handles we made, even down to the toes. I want those things selectable, not the cons, what I have on this cons layer. So I'm going to turn off my pawn new. And if I turn off my cons layer, the reason everything turns off is because they're part of this hierarchy. We set up this hierarchy here, and whatever is, you'll see as I turn this off and on, the cons layer, what's actually on that layer, again, is the con null and the base joints. That's not what I want on that layer at all. So I'm just going to delete this layer. Then I'm going to recreate it. But this time what I want in that layer are the actual control handles. So I'm going to go through and select my base con, shift select my waist con, shift select my chest con, neck con, head con, and I have a headgear con, so I can move the hair separately, or the glasses and the hair or whatever. And then my toe cons. And you can see because my hair and my glasses are parented to this hair con or the headgear con, it's going to be part of this, and that's fine. But the important thing is that I actually have my control handles selected and not my con nulls, not my joints. So, oops, that's a different one. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to double click on this and call it pawn underscore cons underscore LYR. Oops. And now if I deselect everything and I select that, everything still turns off. But the important thing is if I right click on this and I say select objects, you can see that it's actually selecting all of my cons. It's not selecting my con null up here, and it's not selecting my joint. This may seem, I don't know, for you guys, aren't used to animating yet, this may seem like not a big deal, but this is really, really important. When you start keying your characters, so I'm gonna have you guys go through, and I've had everyone go through and key their, at frame 100, mostly your cameras, but what you really need to key is your characters. So here's my character, I'm gonna hit S, and then I'm gonna hit the greater than, or Alt and greater than. I go to 101, I hit S again. And then I'm gonna delete this 0 down here and put a 1 in there. So I'm not gonna show 101 to my audience. They're only gonna see my animation starting at frame 101. I can turn on my character again. And let's say I wanna move him. I keyed all of the controls at 101 and at 100, but let's say I'm gonna move him forward to, I don't know, 180 or something. Let's say at 180, he's gonna move all the way, well, up to here. It's not super far, but he'll move to here. Even though I'm wanting to move his, I moved his base con, I actually wanted to key all of his controls. So I moved him forward, and you're only gonna move him forward using the base con. You're not gonna, let me undo that. You're not gonna move him forward with all the cons selected. In other words, if I do this, select objects, so everything's selected. If I drag him forward, you can see his rig explodes. So we don't want to move everything at once, but we want to key everything at once. So, all right, let's see, at 101 or 180, I can hit S so that I key everything, and then I actually select the base con by itself. It already has a key, but I'm going to move it forward at 180. So if we look at what this looks like in the graph editor, layouts, split top. So right click on my cons layer that I just created, selected objects, and you can see that I'm using the greater than less than sign to go back and forth from frame 101 to 180, and I could just keep moving him or posing his body out. And you guys haven't, and this is, I'm just talking about layout right now. I haven't animated any of these other cons, but at some point I'm going to go back through once I'm done with layout and I actually get to animation, and then I'll start, rotating them around, looking up or whatever. But for layout, we're just animating we're just positioning the base con. We're keying everything. And when I say everything, you've created a cons layer that works. When you right click and say selected objects in the hypergraph, you see that it actually selects all of your cons. That's the main thing I want you guys to get out of this little exercise. You have to key everything. There's a more convoluted way that I learned when I was in school. It's called creating an all button. And that's, you see these up here, UB all, GN all. Those are for different rigs that I've made. I've recently learned that you can do that basically using the layers, select objects in that layer. And it's a little bit faster, it's less tedious than creating an all button. So I'm not gonna go through and show you guys an all button. But you guys have any questions of what I just showed you? Because I need everyone to do that. If you didn't do that with me, you need to rewatch this video and do this so that you know how to do this, because everyone needs to create a cons layer that actually turns off and on and restricts or selects all of your control handles for each character. So each character, if I have 5 characters, each one of these cons layers should do this for that character. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video here unless there's questions.